Star Wars is perhaps one of, if not the greatest sci-fi franchise out there, seeing numerous movies, TV shows, books, specials, comics, games, and merchandise. But we're actually not talking about any of that. No, instead we're looking at one other thing it had: parodies. Specifically 1987's Spaceballs. Directed by the legendary comedian and filmmaker Mel Brooks, this movie was essentially a spoof of Star Wars that also poked fun at sci-fi and a few other things. However, one of the most absurd aspects of it were the costumes, from Dark Helmet to Colonel Sanders. But the most prevalent and noticeable were the various white-clad Spaceball forces, sometimes called technicians or crew members. The story, much like the original movie in the Star Wars franchise, Episode 4 A New Hope, sees a princess captured by a malevolent force. Instead of the Empire, it's planet Spaceball, which holds her captive, promising her safety in exchange for the oxygen of her home planet, Druidia, as theirs lacks an atmosphere. If you haven't seen it yet, definitely take the time to sit down and watch it, as it's a great parody but also a very solid movie in its own right. Anyway though, throw in a bunch of good and bad guys, all of which are a direct or mix-up of Star Wars characters, and you have yourself a really funny take on the classic sci-fi movie. However, the most widely seen forces throughout are the white-clad Spaceballs, seen manning their stations aboard Spaceball 1, the really long flagship, as well as within Spaceball City, the capital of planet Spaceball. Though the appearance of them, along with the gray and black armor-clad soldiers, are an amalgamation and parody of stormtroopers seen throughout much of Star Wars, these forces are a bit more prevalent, recognizable, and iconic due to their more direct connection, not to mention simpler appearance. So let's not waste any more time and get to Spaceballs the Breakdown of Spaceballs. Starting at the bottom, we have an interesting set of black and silver calf-high boots. Though only appearing somewhat obscured, briefly, or from a distance in a handful of shots, their look is very puffy and large, making them likely a form of snow or winter boots. These boots have been, and remain, pretty common, as they've gone in and out of fashion since the late 1960s, often being referred to as puffer or puffy boots, which have been seen in all shapes and sizes. However, a good and somewhat humorous guess is that they were moon boots, or at least chosen for the subtle nod to them, as that would play into the absurd sci-fi nature and hidden jokes seen throughout the movie. Regardless of whether these were custom-made, modified, or right off the shelf in the late 80s, a number of possibilities can be found currently, with moon boots remaining a good option, as the design is pretty simple, seeing black soles featuring a tapered heel section, silver, and a black stripe in the middle portion, with a black line interior, which can be seen in a few shots. So be it close to accurate or a bit of mocking up, these can be sourced rather easily nowadays. Above that, making up the core uniform were two things: a straightforward simple black turtleneck sweater and a stark white suit. As far as the turtleneck goes, any basic one will do, as apart from the neck area seen, the only glimpse of the torso section of it was shown when President Scroob, the head bad guy and stand-in for Star Wars' Emperor Palpatine, talked with Marlene and Charlene, played by Diane and Denise Gallup, also known as the Doublemint twins. Based on the brief appearance, there looks to be no half-zip, buttons, or anything, so a featureless pullover turtleneck it is. Worn over that, though, was a simple white suit. However, there seems to be a bit of a debate as to whether it was a button-up with matching trousers or a single coverall or jumpsuit. This is mainly because the belt hides the waist area, meaning that if it was a two-piece, the shirt could have been tucked into the trousers. Coupled with the fact that it seems no screen-used sets have appeared or been showcased in any major way, unlike just about every other costume from the film. For the most part, though, considering that the soldiers, officers, and even Dark Helmet all had a one-piece suit of some sort as their base, coupled with the fact that many shots featuring crew members orienting themselves in angles that would likely have shown off the garments being separate, it's a safe assumption that they too were a single coverall. Looking at the features and overall appearance of them, they definitely lean more towards a mechanic style, featuring two chest pockets that included triangular flap covers, two inset waist pockets, two pleated cargo pockets down at the thighs, and two rear pockets. As a closing method for all of these, as well as the main front closure, silver snap buttons were used. Now, finding white coveralls is very easy, as there are numerous options out there featuring all sorts of designs, details, pockets, and so on, so getting one close to these may be a bit tricky, but some are much closer to screen-used ones than others. A simple solution to this would be to find a close to accurate one and do some minor modifications. The same could be said if one were to do the two-piece method as well. Worn around their waists were wide black belts, which appear to be about 3 inches in width, or about 7.6 centimeters. Throughout the movie, just about every Spaceball, regardless of position, wears the same black belt with gray-silver buckle. However, the material of the belt varied depending on whether they were a soldier, officer, or crew member. Soldiers' belts appeared to be a more rugged cotton canvas, while officers looked to be a more formal shiny vinyl or possibly leather. However, the crew members' ones seem to be somewhere in between. This can take the form of many things, and those that have looked to recreate these costumes have differed in that approach, with some saying matte vinyl or nylon. However, if we were to look at that shot with Scroob talking with Marlene and Charlene, there is a brief, relatively close-up shot of the belt, which when viewed on the 4K edition, appears to have a slight weave to it, specifically one commonly seen with polypropylene webbing. This would certainly be the quickest, easiest, and cheapest approach one could do to recreate it. Whatever the case though, these belts, and just about every other one worn by Spaceballs, featured a 3-inch in diameter round gray buckle with a side profile of President Scroob, which read, "Planet Spaceball, Scroob the People." Again, a little hidden joke in there, but these buckles are available online, both in finished castings as well as 3D files for printing. To put this all together though, all that is needed are a few strips of hook and loop material, as that was apparently the method used to attach the two ends together, as well as secure the buckle to the front. Finally, to round things off, pun completely intentional, were their absurd and impossible to miss helmets, which obviously played into their name of Spaceballs, as they were essentially a giant round white ball enclosing all but their faces. For the production, they were vacuum formed like many other props and costumes, including the Stormtrooper helmets they made fun of. So that is certainly one approach. However, a less intensive method is to get your hands on a white acrylic lamp dome. These come in varying sizes, though a consensus has sort of been reached saying that the correct size is 12 inches, or 30.48 centimeters, but ultimately you'll want to go based on your dimensions and personal preferences. A tutorial of sorts is available on the website Bloody Plastic, featuring a basic step-by-step showing how they trace the open areas and cut it to size. Those that have made their own with this method do say though that depending on how one were to cut it, be it a rotary tool, hot knife, or any other means, does require something of a slow and delicate touch, as the dome can crack with too much force or hastiness, so definitely something to keep in mind. Additionally, a thing to consider is that certain helmets included a movable black visor for the eyes. Whether they were standard with every one is hard to say, as some scenes show almost none, while others show nothing but. A simple tinted face shield cut down will definitely do the job. To see how they can be fitted in, you can again look to Bloody Plastic for that. The last two external features were a headset mouthpiece and a gray chin strap. The mouthpiece looks to be a small black one coated in a clear plastic. These can be sourced via any cheap headset, and if you want to go the extra step, clear heat shrink tubing can also be added, with it simply glued in on the wearer's right side. As for the chin strap, it's hard to say exactly what material it was, but a safe guess would be a 1/2 inch or 1.27 centimeter elastic band, which removed the need for adjusters and allowed for it to be easily worn as well as connected on the inside. Now, it has been said that safety hard hats often seen for construction were used as the liners for these helmets, as well as the black versions worn by soldiers, with a photo from a 2016 prop store auction sort of confirming that. However, simple padding or really anything can also work. You just want to make sure there's enough so that the helmet doesn't droop down towards the shoulders. With that covering covered, that brings us to the end of the full uniform. If you haven't guessed it, take a look at the date, April 1st, meaning this was another offbeat, stranger April Fool's Day topic, so hopefully it was funny, entertaining, and maybe a bit informative to those looking to put together the ensemble. As shown, there were other uniforms seen throughout the movie worn by soldiers and officers, which we may revisit in a future video or two, assuming there's actual interest. As with most videos breaking down uniforms from media, there are also a few places one can look to get a bit more info, and this is no exception. Apart from the RPF, there is also Spaceballs, the costuming group on Facebook, which is somewhat active and has a few discussions going on about the various costumes. Anyway though, be sure to subscribe if you haven't already done so, and if not, no problem at all. Just be sure to check back here real soon for more videos right here on Uniform History. Oh, and remember,